to the webinar, EGC, the secret content weapon you haven't heard of. I'm going to give everyone probably 2 or so minutes to get in into the webinar. But in the meantime, if you want to throw in where you're logging in from or where you're working from today, throw it in the chat. I'd love to hear it and yeah, get things rolling. In the meantime, we can go and introduce our speakers real quick. Today we are joined by, we're joined by Steph from Justuno, Casey from Coley, Tom from Reversion, and Gabe from Omnisend. And in that order, if you guys want to just like briefly tell us about yourself, you know, where you work and what you do.
Yeah, so Steph here, I work at Justuno and I work with clients in a way to help them strategize their on-site conversion rate optimization overall strategy. So a lot of words, but it's really just thinking through that customer experience with them and having that one-on-one conversation to find out where Justuno can fit best.
Awesome. And then I will omit my fun facts for my intro slide, but I'm Casey Murray. I'm the Director of Partnerships here at Coley. So I have the pleasure of working with both agencies as well as tech integration partners.
Thanks, Casey. Tom Haslam, Agency Partner Manager at Reversion. Similar to Casey, I have the luxury of working with both brands and agencies alongside some of our tech partners. So really focus on partnership and how we can optimize that for everyone in that list.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. And my name is Gabe Macaluso. I'm the Director of Customer Success at Omnisend. We'll get more into details of what Omnisend is, but I oversee a team of customer success managers that manage our larger accounts here at Omnisend. So they manage about 1,500 accounts in the e-commerce space. Super excited to be here today.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All right, we're about 2 after. I think our attendee list is holding steady, so we can go ahead and get things started. So real quick, some quick logistics just for everyone. This is an hour-long webinar, so we'll be closing this out at about 2 p.m. Central Time. The recording of this webinar will be sent out to all registrants tomorrow morning. So if you have to leave early or if you have someone that wants to see it that couldn't make it live, no worries. We will be sending this out. Additionally, there'll be some nice partner offers thrown in the chat throughout the webinar at the end of each presentation. So look out for those. And yeah, thank you again for joining us. So before we hand things off to Casey, who will present first, I wanted to just kind of go over UGC and EGC and kind of what they are, because especially EGC, since it's a pretty niche and kind of a relatively unknown content right now. Basically, you know, user-generated content is any form of content, you know, whether it's a text, it's a review, post, images from social, videos, reviews that are created by individuals, consumers, not the brands, that are published to an online or social network. And so those can be used then by brands as, you know, they can post on a site, for example, like this top right example up here. That's an organic Instagram post that that brand took and used on their site. And then this new form of content, employee-generated content, is any form of content that's created by employees of a brand, but not, say, the brand itself. You know, for example, it's an employee of Justuno posting on their LinkedIn versus the Justuno LinkedIn account posting. So these can take a pretty wildly different shape, and that's why it's very new, and there's been a lot of great success stories, and that's why we want to talk about it today. And so, for example, this example to our on the bottom right here, this is the about page of Goodfair, and they're like a sustainable clothing company, and they had this is an employee making their own TikTok on their own account about, like, you know, how to showing the warehouse of the space, and it's all them doing it and not, say, officially the brand, so to speak. So we'll dive more into those definitions, and that's why we're having Casey go first. He'll give a great run through of this. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Casey, you can take it away.
All right. I promise I work at a tech company, so let's see if I know how to use technology. Drum roll from the audience. Ba, 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 ba. I also hum when I do stuff, so. All right.
Looks good. We can see it.
Hey, thanks, Tom. You too. All right. So EGC and UGC. This is more of a Coley phrase than anything, but today what I'm going to be focusing on is how to generate it, how to activate it, how to measure it, and how to repeat it. I promise this will all make sense. But for now, let's just start with who the heck I am and how I got here. So I'm Casey Murray, again, Director of Partnerships here at Coley. I just moved from Chicago to New York City. So if anybody in the chat has any recommendations for a newbie, I'm new to Manhattan. I have no idea what I'm doing. So again, recommendations are preferred and I love them. I have a dog/roommate. Her name is Tina. She's on the right. She's still late on rent. So if anybody has any recommendations on how to get your roommate to pay rent, let me know. And similar to my friend Tom here, I'm a musician, but I'm a mediocre one at that. So I promise this is all about generating content and not about Coley. But as I always like to say, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you all a little bit about the company and why I'm here. So Coley is a SaaS platform that helps brands accelerate sales with testable creator/employee/user generated visual content, as well as product reviews via our network of pre-vetted content creators. And so ultimately think of Coley as a medium between yourselves and content creators that can help you generate custom content when you need it. So for the agenda, I'm going to be going over again what is a mouthful: creator, employee, user-generated content, and why it matters, as well as distinguishing between that type of content, how to generate that content through various forms, where to activate it, and then finally, from our perspective, what does winning content look like and how should you be thinking about content regardless of who generated it? So I thought about this slide for way too long, specifically this title. UGC, EGC, UGC, we all see. So for us, we think about this in the form of images, videos, and reviews. As Michael just so eloquently put, ultimately, it's just connecting with different people to generate content beyond the brand itself. And so why this is so important is that consumers now want to see content from other consumers, and they're growing less and less interested in what the brand has to say. And if anything, their trust in the brand versus consumers is diminishing, if not going away entirely. So I like to think of it almost like a brand having to do a trust fall by tapping into customers, employees, and users of all sort to generate the content on their behalf. Otherwise, in this day and age, they're going to lose. And so as we think about the different forms of generated content, regardless of whom it's from, we have images, and you can see on the left, these are different styles of images. Some of them are a little bit more professional, some of them are a little bit more relatable. And so that's the importance of diversifying, which I'll go into. But there are so many different forms. It's just a matter of connecting with the right creator, the right user, the right employee to generate a diverse pool of content that you can test in future channels. Same thing goes with videos. And then for reviews, you can think about this in the form of a product review. You could think about this as a Glassdoor review on your company. You can think about this as a review/testimonial on LinkedIn about a product, a service, anything. But really, it's just tapping into various consumers so that they can produce the content to better connect with other consumers. And so how do you generate this content? How do you get it, regardless of a creator, a customer, or an employee? So I'll go left to right here. I don't know Mandarin, so going right to left would just be a train wreck for everybody involved. So content creators, right? That's really what Coley is about. Again, connecting brands, agencies with content creators to produce the content. And we always say it starts with the creative brief. So for yourselves as an agency, a brand, you should spell out exactly what you're looking for. What type of content do you need? And make it crystal clear so that creators can figure out what they need to produce for you. And again, break it down so that it's easy and fun to understand and engaging, and treat it like a job posting. You don't want to sound boring if you're trying to attract a marketer to come work for you, right? So think about it similarly with content creators. And then we always emphasize that it's so important to diversify So from our vantage point, we don't think that you should just exclusively work with creators, exclusively work with customers, exclusively work with employees, and exclusively generate photos in the form of lifestyle. Do it across the board, test and see what works, which we'll go into in a moment. So moving on from creators, customers, right? I mentioned this earlier on, consumers trust other consumers more than they do your brand. So how do you tap into your own customer base? Well, we've got our friends online in OmniSend, so they will probably speak to this much better than I can, but you've got post-purchase email and text message requests. So whether that's for a product review, whether you want to tap into customers by saying, hey, you buy a ton of socks. Can you send us a photo of the socks and we'll give you a $50 gift card? Or just doing product sampling, saying, hey, you buy so many socks. What about a pair of underwear? We'll send you a 7-pack of underwear if you leave us a product review. As well as loyalty and rewards. So again, that person that's living like a queen or king that buys 7 pairs of socks every week, they should be rewarded. That's where loyalty and rewards come in. And then moving to the right here with this fun yet terrifying GIF of work friends, think of your employees as brand and product experts. They know it better than anybody else. And if you're a good employer, they love to work there and want to showcase it to the world. So give them the medium to do so. We have a Slack channel exclusively dedicated to sharing posts on LinkedIn. And surprisingly, it's more engaging when an employee posts it versus our brand at times. And in addition to that, think about it, if you offer products, give your employees discounts. Have them encourage their friends and family to come shop on your site via discounts. And then collect feedback in the office, right? Maybe you get a surplus of product that you don't need anymore. Get some feedback from your employees and see what they think about it. Have them post, have them publish, get some content so you can start testing it. And so when we think about getting the content, right? Great, I have thousands of photos. Now what? There's so many channels to consider. Even this first slide here, which our friends at Reversion will talk to very, very well. We've got organic social, and where the hell do you start, right? So we've got all these different channels, which all of them require channel-specific content, which again, it's so important that you think about users, customers, and employees, all the same, because you need this content for so many different channels. And organic social is such a proper medium to connect with your consumers, and even more important than ever. And so to complement organic social, you've got paid social endeavors, right? But if you're exclusively using one photo in a paid campaign, how do you know it works? You need a ton of content across different sorts of consumer bases to understand whether or not it works. And then our friends at OmniSend, again, can talk to this, but you've got SMS and email as well as a communication channel. Text no longer is sufficient. You need content to support that in addition. Maybe you want to include product ratings and reviews in there too. Consumers want to hear from other consumers. And then we've got on-site. You know, we have various partners that do a great job of publishing photos, product reviews, videos. So looking at that as an opportunity to leverage consumer-generated content has never been more important. And then display ads, we're finding, hearing from various customers, reading various blogs and reports, UGC, no surprise here, is outperforming traditional media 4 times to 1. And so if your strategy is to spend 50 grand a month on paid, you're missing out if you're not tapping into various consumers to generate content on your behalf. So this slide may be confusing, believe me, I'll get into it, but what does winning content look like? Again, regardless of who it's from. What does it look like? So we at Coley, we have this right above our coffee machine, and we firmly believe in the idea that data should come above gut feel. So gone are the days of the Don Drapers looking at a photo and saying, subjectivity is key. I have a better eye than you. I'm a proficient marketer and you're not. So that's why this is gonna work. It doesn't make sense from my perspective because I feel like I have a better eye than some. And you know, at the end of the day, we'll look at this and say data is going to dictate the performance. It's not whether or not the photo is pretty. And we have a quiz at the end, as I like to do. Michael knows firsthand. So we'll see whether or not you have a better eye than me, because, I think I have a pretty good eye. But again, rely on the data. Think about the channels in which you're distributing the various forms of content and use that data to figure out what's working, what's not, generate more content like you're winning assets, and it's a never-ending cycle. Apologies, it sounds like somebody's chainsawing some cement outside. New York City, classic. So fortunately, we're gonna come to the quiz here, and again, test that subjectivity of yours and see if you know what winning content looks like. So we have image A and image B. A Coley customer enabled these two photos to be side-by-side tested, A/B tested within an email in a cart abandonment flow. And so we'll spend about 30 seconds and let people jump in. Let us know what you think. Is it image A or image B that perform better from a click-through rate?
All right, they're coming in. A lot of A's.
Michael, what do you think?
I don't know. I've seen this deck, but I actually don't know. I'm gonna go with B for some reason. I'm gonna go with my gut feel, which is B.
Nice. All right. Do we feel like we've got enough?
I think we're going good. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, the winner is image B. Michael, gut feel won in this instance. So it looks like most folks actually lean towards A, which I did too, right? So even before I put this deck together, I quizzed myself to see whether or not my eye was better than others, and it's not. So again, you gotta generate a lot of content. Think about all the channels and mediums in which your consumers find out about your product, find out about your brand, and you need to implement an ongoing testing strategy to figure out what sort of content works, where, why, and then repeat. So with that being said, let's connect. Here's some internet stuff. As a software company, we got internet stuff. I got a LinkedIn, I got an email address. So if anybody has any questions, you want to get in touch later, please let me know. Visit Coley if you have any questions. And now with that, I will stop talking and save y'all the burden of hearing the chainsaws outside.
Actually,
thanks so much.
Real quick, we have a couple questions come in real fast before we get to Gabe's presentation. Bonnie wants to know how you tested that previous example you just went up.
Great question. So we offer an automated dynamic testing capability. I promise I'll try my best not to make this exclusively around Coley, but we offer dynamic testing. We work with Klaviyo, for instance, and we work with Omnisend in a number of capacities where we're passing assets to be incorporated and then retrieving it back on a product level. So if you saw in that example, those two photos are of the same product, just different photos. But I don't want to make this exclusively around the dynamic techie stuff that I geek out about. So feel free to shoot me an email and we can dive into it, Molly. Appreciate the question.
Awesome. Thanks, Bonnie. All right, Gabe, take it away.
All right, perfect. And I unmuted myself before I start talking. So that's a huge win on any web conference. So we'll get right into it. So again, thank you for the opportunity to speak about Omnisend. So we're a omni-channel marketing solution. We do email, SMS, web push notifications, and integrate with all of your main e-commerce platforms. But let's talk about how we can utilize UGC and EGC. And then there was one Q&A that was, what's the difference between UGC and CGC? So that's another acronym. It may be the same thing if C is standing for customer generated content. So I'm going to take a shot in the dark there and hopefully that answers it. So whoever asked that question, it was anonymous. If you can clarify there what those letters mean, we can talk about that. But as I mentioned, over 70,000 e-commerce brands are using Omnisend. Here's just a few of the logos that we have on our slide. We have a lot of fun with the folks that we work with. So across a wide variety of verticals, Modcat does kitty litter boxes and are based in Brooklyn. Duke Cannon does men's grooming products and they're based up in Michigan. But yeah, a lot of fun with working with these different brands. And then Jiggy, they make beautiful puzzles. So if you need a unique gift, you should definitely check them out. And again, I mentioned the e-commerce platforms, so we're across the board there. But getting into all the different integrations, as they mentioned at Coley, we've got those as well. So we're really going to give you all the tools and collections and opportunities you need to make your business successful. All right, so let's talk about employee generated content and how you use it in email. So I love pictures because they tell a story, and this is what's so important. You know, I think Michael and I started doing webinars 2 years ago when COVID started hitting, because it was like, okay, we've got budgets and marketing, and we've got to, you know, get content to people. So what do we do? Let's start doing webinars and have those conversations. And it's been interesting to kind of see this transition take place in terms of how people are shopping at home and how people are expecting, you know, their online experience to be. And that's really what we've created here. And Justuno does a phenomenal job with this. Coley's experiencing this as well in Refersion. We'll talk about it. How can we use this content to really create an experience and create a connection with our users? Because everyone's at home, you can't go to the store, you can't go to the bar. So you have to have this experience. And so really people have started leveling up what they're communicating across an email because they had time to do it because there's no more commutes. And Tommy John is a great brand that kind of shows this. And Tommy John does a good job in terms of right from the get-go, when someone signs up on their website, they're asking, you know, are you interested in our men's products or women's products? And these are the two co-founders. And all of you as serial entrepreneurs who have started your business, like you got into e-commerce and started your business, or you got into this industry because you love what you sell and you have a story to tell. So you should share that. And so, you know, Tom and Aaron do a phenomenal job of really being ambassadors to their brand. They just got a huge, you know, funding round to try to continue to expand it as a lifestyle brand. And right away, they're saying, you know, obviously these are studio shots, but we've all seen what we can take with our iPhones or our Samsung phones. So you can take good pictures, and just that little kind of personal note. Love the signature here. That's user generated or employee generated content. That adds that personal touch and is super important. And this is a soft way to kind of start telling that journey. So user-generated content is great to use in your marketing campaigns, as we saw in the Coley examples, and Casey shared with us. Like, people want to know like what they're going to look like in the product. You know, we all read reviews when we purchase products. We want to understand what people's experience are with that product. And if you're anything like me, I read the 5-star reviews and then I read the 1-star reviews. And like you got to get the opposite end of the spectrum and understand like where that's going to be. But user-generated content is phenomenal because it's the product in the wild. It's someone actually using it. It's not a paid model smiling because they have to love it. It's not, you know, a set where the product is staged perfectly and of course it's going to operate exactly as designed. It's real content and real experience that you're sharing and learning from. So show off your products, do your customer photos, and then run a contest with your most engaged customers. There's still a desire for people to be influencers on Instagram. I have a 10-year-old daughter, and like, you know, she does not have an Instagram account, but like she knows what an Instagram influencer is. And so this is just kind of completely changed in this generational aspect of anybody can be famous, anybody can produce quality content, and we've just come miles and miles from that. So leverage into that, tap into that resource. And we had a conversation the other day where we talked about what a studio shoot costs compared to snapping a couple photos that are a little bit more authentic with your iPhone to generate that content. So don't overthink it. And people love a story. So this is one of my favorite brands to work with. They spend less than $50 a month with us at OmniSend. And it's just a great brand. And this was from their Valentine's Day email. And they told a personal story about how the two founders like fell in love and created this store that just embraced their passion. They sell like model kits and all that kind of stuff. And this is one of their best selling emails in the last 12 months. So far in the month of February, they've seen a 640% increase in revenue month to date. And it's all about connecting with their audience. It shared an emotion, it created an experience. It was about Valentine's Day and it told a personal story. And so not only am I buying something that I would have maybe normally bought anyway, I now know who I'm supporting. And they're, you know, hardworking people just like I am. It's not some faceless corporation trying to sell me stuff. It's people trying to sell me stuff. And so it's a great way to connect. This was back probably, I think Michael and I talked about this way back when. American Giant does a phenomenal job with their marketing. And obviously they have a large marketing team. if you're a 1-person team or a 3-person team, like there's no shame in borrowing or stealing ideas from the big guys, right? Like they have the tools to test, they have the finances to test, borrow those ideas from them. So this was a great example of employee generated content and kind of seizing the moment of telling a story. So this is how we work from home. Riley left a review about the roughneck pant. He's standing there wearing it with his cat, and everyone can immediately start relating to this experience of, yeah, we're kind of all shifted into work from home. Where are we setting our at-home workspace up? What does that look like? And I'm going to be comfortable doing it. So this is a phenomenal example from American Giant. This is another one. So we talked about those founders and how important it is to, really kind of just tell your story, get excited about it, get passionate about it. People love those types of things. So this is Patricia Hartman. She's a former, or she still is a supermodel, but got her fame a little bit earlier in the years, but has this great lipstick brand called Runway Rogue, and the subject line was Patricia's Casual Favorites. Pearl Glam Showtime, that's Patricia. I think Jim, her partner, probably took the picture. And these are great ways to kind of build your content calendar out when you're trying to think of how can I come up with enough campaigns to send. So founders favorites, founders picks, all those types of things. Be proud of what your brand is and stand behind it. You can see that she's actually wearing the product that she sells. So if she's willing to wear it, then she should be 100% comfortable selling it to anybody who's going to buy it. It's a personal connection. And then the text heavy. Tommy John does a number of full text emails. And you can absolutely use those things in terms of creating that story. It doesn't have to be all image-based. Use the text, communicate with your audience. Don't be afraid to have too much text to image ratio. And then employee recommendations are great. This is Tape Guys. They shared a picture from their winter party. So there's their team, again, just trying to connect with their audience. And this email is one of their best performing emails of 2021. So phenomenal job from them. And then reviews. Reviews, everyone loves reviews. It builds trust. You get to be relatable. And the funnier, the better. Everyone wants a good laugh. I feel like I'm repeating myself in terms of creating that story, creating that connection, but that's what people want. They want an experience. So utilize all of this content to push those things. And where this can be a review, this could be an automated message, an abandoned cart message where you have these kind of review blocks. Don't shy away from using this content as your campaign. So make sure you have that. And then back again to American Giant, we talk about that employee generated content. Here's a personal note from Bayard, who's the CEO of American Giant. This was way back in the beginning of COVID where they stopped producing sweatshirts and they started making medical masks on their assembly lines. So again, great story, great connection, and a personal note from the president. That is employee generated content. It doesn't just have to be images. It can absolutely be these conversational pieces to connect with your audience. And then just the last thing. So, we have a wide variety of audience members. I want to make sure we cover everybody. So if you have a brick and mortar location or even food and beverage, this is the Kingfisher Bar. And we talked about that employee generated content. They did a virtual bingo hour. Again, not fancy with the picture, but tells you exactly what's happening. And then their products on their website, all bars. So you could buy a gift certificate. They were doing virtual happy hours during COVID. So you could send tips in. And none of the images are focused. None of the images need to be perfect. You can see this virtual happy hour tip is actually a screenshot from like an Instagram live, but it automatically takes you to what's happening and you want to cheers with that person and give them that tip. So very, very smart in terms of the content they created. And then pets, I feel like always do sell really well. So, pets and babies, that's what I always tell my customers. If you have a picture of a dog or a baby on your Instagram, you're going to get more likes. So keep that in mind. And that is everything from OmniSend. Just like Casey mentioned, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. There's not too many Gabe Macalusos in the world, so you should find me pretty easily. And we do have this special discount code for you, which will be shared after the webinar as well. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gabe. Those are awesome examples. Yeah, just one thing I kept thinking about was just the sheer variety of examples, like the sheer just different forms of content that this stuff can make and how much it can bolster your brand's marketing, whether it is an email, text, on-site, review, like all of it, right, can be used and should be used. And like you and Casey are proving the results right now. I mean, it's immense. So yeah, thank you for all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
if anyone has any questions about any of those examples or any questions for Gabe, throw them in the chat. We'd love to hear them. And yeah, all right. So we can get this trucking along further. Next up is SJ from Justuno, who will talk about, well, actually, I'll let her tell. Oh, hey, SJ, you're muted.
Dang it, thought we were gonna get away with that. But yeah, I'm feeling very encouraged to go back to my clients and like talk about all these examples, because it's a lot to get someone going, I think, from our perspective. And when you think about trying to generate this content, it can feel like a task, but in the way that you've shown it, I think, and how it's used, like it totally makes sense in the end. And it's exactly like what we would want to see on Justuno. So what Michael touched on before, and really everyone has, is like kind of how we're evolving into this new type of content. So here you'll see like we're touching on a brand story in these examples, and consumers want to know about your brand, whether it's to learn more about you or to feel connected some way whenever they do finally arrive on site. But you have to think about it like they're picking out all these different areas of communicating and engaging with your brand, like email and social. So once they arrive on site, we really want to tie that all together. So in this example, we've got Pura Vida in the example on the top right, and they're really wanting us to connect with their founder of this story. And just like we saw before, like we have some really great images here that are calling back to kind of that time whenever this brand did come about and why it makes sense. So if I'm reading through that, I'm feeling like, yeah, this is kind of my crew. Like this is this is what I would want to buy from. And that alone helps in just keeping me on site and further engaging with the brand. If I'm leaving, ideally, I'm still getting similar messaging on social media or perhaps from an email that I've signed up for. So with Justuno, you're able to really know when someone is engaging with your brand and where to further target them later on in email or on social. And then this bottom right example, this one was one that we showed earlier too. And Good Fare, they use this on their About Us page, and they're using that employee generated content. So you can see it's a TikTok video, and they're showing what they're doing to go into the process of making the actual product and that whole package for them. So I think a lot of the times too, that inside look, like kind of like the peek behind the curtain just to see what's going on, can help too. And you know, a lot of people just want that authenticity. So you see our tip down here, 90% of consumers say authenticity is important when deciding which brands to support. So however you can show that in those different touch points is going to make that picture for them overall just a little more clear. Awesome. So the inside scoop, I kind of touched on this, but customers love to see how your product is made. So the materials you need, the process of making it, really that full insider look. So giving them this insider information creates that trust between the brand and your customers, and maybe makes them feel more connected to you just as a founder or whoever they're getting information from, maybe on your marketing team. It's also a great way to showcase your premium products. So the detail that goes into creating your jewelry or your handmade clothing, or, you know, any kind of cool like element that makes your brand or your product really stand out. Because we're in such a day where, you know, I'm hopping from sites to sites too to see where the best deal is, or, you know, what does this product have that this one doesn't? I'm a very comparison focused person. So any kind of information like that you can present on the site to keep them there will give them that feel like, okay, this guy's being transparent with me, and I do feel that authenticity. So when our customer, Grace and Lace, they have dedicated Q&As where their customers can ask their style team anything and get direct answers from the brand employees. And it's not a curated message. It's something that is more unique to whoever they're speaking to at that time. For me, it kind of reminds me of whenever we have clients in chat trying to get help, like we're helping them in that unique situation at that time. So when people are visiting, like where are they visiting from in that time? Where is that coming from? So actually using this content from the Justuno perspective, we want to think more of that top of funnel to bottom of funnel experience all the way through. And just like we saw this content being used in the emails, we want to mirror that whole experience on site. So maybe that's showing more reviews if they're coming from social media, or showing somebody how someone used it on TikTok if they're coming from email. So kind of connecting those different experiences can go a long way for you. All right, so using it on site, whenever I think about this, what comes to mind is a stat that consumers find UGC to be 9 times more impactful than influencer content. So again, this just speaks to the authenticity that visitors and customers are looking for. And impactful really stands out too. You know, we gauge a lot of things in terms of engagement and who has seen something. So engagement can also lead to that later on relationship building or that conversion. So impactful is really helpful here, because we shouldn't get discouraged if we don't see that engagement right away. Ideally, you have elements in place where they're engaging later on. All right. So in this example, these are platform specific strategies for us. So you'll see here on this right-hand side, we have an example of sign up now to receive 15% off and enroll in our ambassador program. So we're already able to capture Instagram handles or TikTok handles to learn more about our customers and ideally make it easier to get this kind of content. So that's a pop-up that we have actually from our partner Gatsby, and they pull all that information in for it to make it easier to find that content you're looking for. And then in the same way, whenever you do have that content created, really utilize UTMs or just any kind of tracking so that whenever you're using Justuno, we can target that audience and show them the right kind of messaging once they're on site. And thank you so much. I'll check out any questions that you have coming up for me.
Now it's my turn to be muted. Thank you very much, SJ. Yeah, thank you very, very much. That was great. Yeah, a lot of different ways to use UGC, EGC on site, just like Gabe and Casey showed. Just, you know, it's all bound on your creativity, right? So yeah, thank you again.
And I like the testing element. I think Casey and Gabe hit on that too. And it's just about like testing a lot. If you're getting that kind of content, like that's the first step. And then just taking a chance on what your consumers are giving you. Like in the end, they're the consumers, right? And it might be totally different than what you think they should be giving you. Yeah.
Data over gut feeling. I'll quote you on that, Casey, from now on.
All full circle.
All right, Tom, why don't you take it away?
Sure. Yeah. Hello, everyone. As a reminder to the folks who may have joined later, my name is Tom Haslam. I'm curious if everyone can see my screen all right, and if it looks good to everyone. Yeah. No?
Other screen.
Okay. Yeah. Second here.
I jumped the gun with the 2 thumbs. I hope I didn't jinx it.
You know, sometimes it just happens. It's okay. Let's give this a shot. How's this?
All right. Yeah, that's the good screen.
Excellent. Okay. Cool. So my name is Tom Haslam, agency partner manager with Reversion. Today we're going to be discussing affiliate marketing and first-party data. I'm going to weave in some content from what we discussed earlier about EGC and how you can utilize affiliate marketing within your own organization. But firstly, what is Reversion? Reversion at the highest level is a performance marketing platform that helps brands and partnerships drive e-commerce growth and uses our industry-leading attribution technology and smart data insights. Similar to Casey, I don't want to make this too much about Reversion, but of course I do work at Reversion, so it's got to be said. For those of you who aren't incredibly familiar with performance marketing, a lot of it is based on the way that performance marketing typically operates is you provide some sort of got a poll here.
Yep, sorry, just lost it.
So you provide some sort of monetary benefit to someone promoting your brand, and that can come in different forms. And so looking at this little box here, there's different types of people that that you might want to engage in an affiliate marketing strategy or performance marketing strategy. And so I've got a little stat here that you can see. It's people want recommendations from people they know and trust. So 74% of consumers identify word of mouth as a key influencer in their purchasing decision. So that's kind of, it's very important to understand that. Now, what better person than someone who works for a brand to be an ambassador for you, right? And I'll give you a quick example that we didn't include in here, but Steve Madden, when they first signed up for Reversion, the first thing that they did was pushed out the affiliate program across their entire organization. So the first ambassadors for their organization were their employees. And my understanding is that worked incredibly well. And then we'll get into how you can use that data and optimize from there. But so these are the different kind of buckets that you could find people in to leverage for your affiliate. I'm going to keep this on the EGC content here for now. But personalization is no longer an expectation, it's a requirement. I think that this is something that we've seen grow over the last 3-4 years, particularly on Shopify and really any platform. But according to a survey that we recently obtained, it's over 60% of consumers now say that they are likely to become repeat buyers after a personalized experience. And almost half are less likely to make a purchase from a brand after an unpersonalized experience. So just something to keep in mind there. I think it ties in quite nicely to the idea of, where Casey showed the pictures and Gabe as well. The dog photo that got me, man. I'll buy that hat. Furthering to that, shifting from third-party data to first-party data. This is something that I would imagine a lot of people, on this webinar have experienced. When you go into your phone, maybe you've got a new phone in the last year or so, you're now asked if you would like to allow this app to track your data, right? And so there is a move that's happening, a shift away from third-party data in the industry. And we're seeing this as being more and more of a roadblock for marketers. And so one of the ways that Reversion, again, I don't want to make this too much about Reversion, but one of the ways that we've seen a lot of success is by providing brands and affiliates, ambassadors, influencers with a first-party relationship with their data. And we'll get into why that's important in a moment. But really, the idea here is to gather the right data from your customers and potential customers and/or employees to drive more optimization in your marketing funnel. So, harnessing the power of first-party data. This is where we get into the meat of what you do with that. So I'll read this out quickly, but with 81% of today's e-commerce brands relying on affiliate programs, influencers and affiliates are direct touch points to consumers who crave personalized marketing. Now, again, I mentioned earlier, ambassadors, affiliates, influencers, those are all different ways of promoting your brand and providing them with some sort of monetary compensation and or discount code. People at your company are typically your most avid brand, like people who will sing your praises are typically coming from your organization and or close to it. Maybe they know someone there. I'm a big Lululemon fan. I lived in Vancouver for a while, so I like their clothes. I'm wearing their pants right now. So if anyone has any Lulu referrals, I'm happy to give you a coupon code. Anyway, so then getting into identifying who's going to be the right affiliate. This is really important for affiliate marketing for a number of reasons. From the broadest context, you want the right people promoting your brand. So if you're going to give people an incentive to go out into the world and promote your brand, you want some form of ensuring that you're getting the right people. And then again, going back to the employees that you work with, I would hope that you're hiring folks at your organization that you trust and that are going to present your brand in the right way. And so this entire risk aspect of doing any sort of affiliate is removed from the equation. But again, with Reversion, we have ways of vetting these individuals and ensuring that you're getting the right people behind your brand to go out there and hit the streets and get feet on the ground. So how do you collect the right kind of data? How do you optimize your affiliate marketing strategy with the data that you've collected? Well, there's a few things. So, obviously you're going to have employees vetted, but I don't think that you'll need to do a ton of vetting, I would hope. But with other affiliates, as they start to come into your program and it's growing, you want a registration form to ensure that these are the right people. You also want to segment affiliates, and this could be employees as well. You could really use the term interchangeably. We certainly kind of, do that as well. But you want to get them into the right channels and see where they're performing best. And that's the same for employees. I know that Steve Madden had the same experience. And you want to create high value content. So this is really where, we're tying all of the things that we've spoken about prior to this. I know that Stephanie mentioned Pure Vita. They're a huge brand for us that we work with a lot. And they do this incredibly well. They provide their employees and affiliates with the right kind of content. So just furthering on to the segmentation of your audiences, this is, I'm not going to touch on this too much, but really you want to focus on the channels, the methods, and the location and audience of the people that you have promoting your brand. It's just going to be important for you optimizing this and helping them be better at going out and selling on your behalf, really. And then this really is where it all comes back. Use high value content to inform your affiliates, consumers, and data insights. So you've got, say, 40 employees signed up when you're in your affiliate program. Some of them are doing really well in the Midwest for whatever reason. You want to provide them with things that you see that are performing well in those areas. So use your data to inform the content that you can provide to these folks to help them be better, to help them sell more of your products, and in turn make more money for themselves. And that's really what we see a lot of our brands doing very well. It's not always employee, but it's definitely something that you want to be very conscious of in what you provide these people with to help you really launch your program and get some more marketing channel revenue. So key takeaways from my end, embracing first-party data and ensuring it's robust, reliable, and accessible is an absolute must these days. And structuring your affiliates through segmentation and providing education gives your brand the opportunity to collect more accurate data and personalization opportunities. And then finally, use a performance marketing platform. Please, we see too many people using Google Sheets, and I promise it will make your life easier. I don't think I've ever had anyone that's signed up for Refersion from something that was not another platform. So whether it's us or anyone else, please use performance marketing platform if you're going to undertake something like this. So that's all from me. Thank you, everyone. I hope that this has not been too boring. Oh, I do have one quiz question. This will be fun. All right, please don't Google this. Since Refersion is, affiliate, influencer, and ambassador, can anyone tell me who the most followed person is on Instagram right now?
I knew this last week.
Okay. We've got some. I'm gonna let him come in.
I'm gonna guess Kanye West.
Okay.
Zendaya.
Good guess. Not as many as you would think.
Rihanna.
All right, here I've actually got I have a little infographic that I just pulled literally a couple minutes ago. So if this has changed, that's my fault. But all right, here we are. So whoever said Instagram, really smart move. It is actually Instagram is the most followed on Instagram, which kind of makes sense, right? But then Cristiano Ronaldo actually with a whopping almost 100 million over Kylie Jenner. Wow. So he really is the top right now. And then you can see how close The Rock, Leo Messi, Selena Gomez, Ariana Grande, Kim Kardashian, really the people that you kind of would think more so. But again, soccer stars, footballers, got big reach. Anyway, that's all for me, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. Really enjoyed this. And thank you to the Justuno folks and everyone here that's had us on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. And actually, one quick question for you. So, I mean, obviously you work for Reversion, but for a brand here in the audience or anyone, if they have no idea about performance marketing, where do you recommend they start? Like if they have absolutely no idea, where do you recommend for them to go? I mean, that could just be reversion.com and starting there. But if you have any other, tips, if they have just no idea.
It's tom.haslam@reversion.com. No. I mean, performance marketing, I think as a channel, I worked on the agency side for 2.5 years. And so Our focus was primarily working with design development of new sites. And then we partnered with other marketing agencies to support in growing those. And one of the pain points that we've seen at Refersion that I've heard from those partners of ours is that third-party data and cost of acquisition through Facebook and Instagram and other ways, it's getting a little bit more, it's becoming more of a blocker for people than previous years. And so people are looking at different channels to invest in and or see revenue from. So Refersion does a really good job of providing people with I don't want to say it's passive because that would be, indicate that it is requires no effort. It definitely requires some effort, but it's fairly easy to stand up. I mean, you could download Refersion right now. Any of you are welcome to go on our marketplace, and I can share some links with the team. But you can go onto the marketplace and just find programs to sign up for if you want to be an affiliate. And just like a brand, you can reach out to us and or someone in our space to understand more about it. But there's a ton of wealth of knowledge that you can look for information on how to start an affiliate program. And really, it's what I like about performance marketing in particular is that you pay for results. So you only pay once someone has converted on a product, right? And that's not as common as you might expect in a lot of ways. You don't often get to pay after you've seen results in marketing. So I hope that answered the question. If
Yeah, that was the very in-depth. No, thank you very much. And actually, there's a follow-up question from Angie in the chat, and she wants to know, what's your advice on how to best educate affiliates? Platform, how to educate, how often?
Sure. Yeah, great question. Thank you, Angie. So definitely the best platform to use, without question, obviously, is Refersion. Advice for educating your affiliates. I mean, it really is case by case basis. It depends on how heavily you are involved with, how big of a channel it is for you. There's a lot of people who, there's a few brands that we have in our portfolio where it's one of their largest channels, just based on the nature of their industry. But I would say for educating affiliates, it's more about providing them with the data insights that you can gather, and then providing them with content that you've seen that may be performing well within that same segmented channel. So if you've got someone who, for example, let me see what I've got. Crowdsource Water, actually, it's got a sticker on it. But if I'm an affiliate for Crowdsource Water, shout out Crowdsource Water, I would be, I would benefit from receiving content that's going to perform better and get more conversions. And so as much content as you can provide them with, as much data, insights, all of that, it's going to help them. And there are people who do this full time for a living and probably make quite a bit more than I do. So I might actually just sign on to the marketplace right now. It's a little joke. I hope that answers. Yeah. Anything else on that part?
Amanda, let me know if you, Angie, if you have any other questions there. Tom, I think that was great. No, I agree. The amount that some affiliates can make, or just how far you can take, it's wild. It's very wild. And it makes you think a little bit.
It does. And one other really quick thing on that for you, Angie, and definitely feel free to reach out to me or anyone on the Refersion team. We're always happy to chat more about this. But with regard to that specific, like people who make a living on this, those people have very heavy requirements for what programs they will sign on for. And so you need to be pretty buttoned up when you're approaching these VIP affiliates. But if you can get them on your, into your program, then you're going to see a lot more success. And so the educational aspect and the one-to-one relationship that I mentioned with that first party data and that relationship with your affiliates and or ambassadors, whoever it's going to be, we're finding that that's becoming also a bigger sticking point where, the affiliates have a choice, right? They don't need to work with your brand necessarily if this is their full-time job, so they can get quite picky as well. And so you really want to be catering to them as much as you are, anyone on your Instagram feed. I don't know if that made sense, but anyway, thank you, Angie.
Thanks, Tom. Gabe and SJ, I have a question for y'all. Just curious, I really don't know. Of the clients y'all work with, how many roughly use EGC or UGC in their content like consistently? I know that's that's a really open, broad question, but just kind of out of curiosity, how many brands do you think, maybe even just outside our respective organizations, use it properly? Because I feel like there's a ton of opportunity, across the board, and a lot of brands aren't using it when they really could be. So, what's kind of like your guess? SJ, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I think I'm more at that 30% that are actually using it and implementing it. And we're like actively trying to test it out from my client list. And then probably like 50% that we're trying to like get into it and see like, what does that look like if we're going to do that?
Right.
But I think from Justuno, a lot of what we can do is like capturing data to then help with this information too. So I just wanted to share a quick preview link for a type of pop-up that we've worked on for a client. And it's just to show that like, as you're looking through what the best ways are to like find the right people that can speak on your brand, it's like you can still learn more about them as you still find this out. So this example, that if you click into that, they actually are asking more about like what kind of content they want to receive in their email. And then through email, that could be how you ask someone about like if they would be a good fit for affiliate or just any kind of promotion on that end. But kind of like a backwards way to think about it. And the example that I shared looks like a full page kind of takeover. So it's made to mimic what like a new landing page might be on site.
Hey, SJ, I think you linked something else. That's a buy one, get one.
Really? Let me try
corner
that.
slide out.
All right.
While she's getting the right link, I think Stephanie or SJ hit it on the head in terms of percentage. I would say most good marketing ideas, only 30% of brands adopt. I don't know why, but this is kind of true across the board in terms of like abandoned cart messaging. 40% of brands do abandoned cart messaging. If you're not doing abandoned cart messaging, this is a tangent of a conversation, but if you implement that, you will see an increase in revenue. So you should do it now. And I think oftentimes as marketers, like we overthink the process, and that's the beauty of employee and user generated content. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. If you think about read times on this content, or you're scrolling your Instagram and you're looking at that content, it's 2 to 3 seconds. And often as we like nitpick over like, oh, and in Outlook, there's an extra, single width pixel border that's showing up on the left side of my email, and then you spend an hour talking with your ESP support trying to get rid of this border, and it's like no one cares about that. And I get like the desire to make it be perfect, but like you're spinning your wheels on stuff that no one outside of what we're doing really cares about. And so rather than spending that hour on arguing with your provider support team about this pixel that's showing up in Outlook, which no one in your target demographic is probably actually using. So that's like, I love Litmus, but like drives me nuts that they like render Outlook because it's like, it's never going to look right. Like focus on what you can actually control, like getting an email out the door, generating content, getting automations live, like that's what's going to generate revenue. So employee generated content, user generated content. I looked up the CGC, apparently that's customer generated content, which is a subset of user generated content. Like just use it and see what works. Test, experiment. I mean, that's the beauty of marketing, is the things that you would think would work really well are going to fall completely flat. And the things that you spend 30 seconds writing a subject line and throw that out the door because you're like, crap, I need to get this campaign out, all of a sudden is your best performing campaign of the year. So, I've had customers that schedule like quarterly oops emails because they know that every oops email they send has it's the open rates on it are usually like 60 to 80% higher. So they schedule an oops email on purpose, like oops, because everyone wants to know like, oh, what'd they mess up, right? And then that starts creating engagement. So you can be creative with those things.
I love that. I love intentionally messing up or intentionally like using spelling mistakes and subject lines or things like that because it's eye grabbing and people are going to look at it. And actually on that note, we are right at time and I think that's a perfect way to end it. So thank you so much, Gabe. Thank you, SJ. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Casey. That's perfect. So yeah, for those still in here, the recording of this webinar will be sent out tomorrow. So look out for that. And thank you for attending. Presenters, if you guys want to say bye real fast, we're good to go.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
Bye,
Have a
everybody.
great
Thank
day.
you.
Awesome. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good day.